So as you may already know, I'm planning to add a second floor addition to the first floor of my shipping container home. And this was the early prototype design I had in mind. But as I began to flesh out the details, including structural and building codes, I quickly realized that this design was not going to work. And so over the last few months, I was forced to dramatically change the look and design of this second floor addition. So in this video, I'm going to reveal the brand new design and explain to you the reasons why I had to change it. So as you can see, the primary changes I made to the house are the style of roof and the exterior decking. So let's start with the roof. Originally, I had planned to use a single slope roof that reaches high on the front of the house and low on the back. But as I began to flesh things out in more detail, I ran into a number of issues. When I started researching the type of roofing I would use, such as traditional shingles or metal panels, I learned that there are strict building codes, as well as manufacturer's requirements, specifically in terms of roof slope. If you look up some common roof shingle products, you'll find that the manufacturer puts a limit on how flat the roof can be. This popular brand here, if you look up their installation instructions, seems to only allow installation on roofs with a slope of 212 or greater, no less. So in my original flat roof concept, I had not yet made any considerations for the slope. I just slapped together what looked more or less visually appealing. If we do a quick measurement in my 3D model, you can see that the slope angle is 3.8 degrees, which is literally less than even a 112 slope. In other words, it's a very flat roof. So I played around with the slope, trying to make it less flat. Here's a 312 slope, and as you can see, it simply looks ridiculous. It's so high up in the air. It's like 20 feet above the deck. It simply looks ridiculous, and for that matter, it looks a bit scary, like one giant hurricane parachute waiting to catch some Category 5 winds. This, of course, doesn't even consider that I'd probably need some kind of vertical support columns to support this overhanging roof. Just the thought of 20-foot long posts holding this thing up, it's just a little scary. And even though I have some experience working with long, heavy pieces of lumber back during the first floor build, this would be a totally different animal. And by the way, do you notice something unusual here in this video? Take a close look. Closer. Right there. That's me building my entire container home without a tool belt. That's right, somehow I went through the entire build and never bothered getting this essential accessory. Which is why I was excited when the makers of the Perkins Essential Tool Belt reached out and offered to send me one of theirs to try for myself. And I have to say, this thing is top notch. It just looks and feels robust, from the quality of materials to the stitching. Really comfortable, thick padding in the belt and suspenders. I'm really glad they went with a utility buckle. This one's made out of aluminum for instant on and off removal with just a quick click. So let me show you my setup. I've got the hammer, tape measure, pencils on the right side. I've got speed square, wire cutters, safety goggles on the left side. And of course on the back here I've got my drill on the rear. But guess what? This belt is actually modular or interchangeable. You can literally change or customize the placement of these pouches. So if you preferred the inverse of how I have it, including the hammer on the left side instead of the right, you can easily do that by just swapping them over. When I first started wearing this belt, I thought that these customizable pouches would be moving around, but they are totally rock solid in place. Let me show you this other cool feature right here.
They've got a smartphone holder built right into the shoulder strap, so you can just pop this thing in and out for hands-free phone calls or listening to music or whatever. So if you're looking for a quality, a durable tool belt, you can pick this one up right now by clicking the link in the description below. And if you use my coupon code, which again is down in the description below, you can get a nice discount off the total price of the belt. Just make sure you use that code during checkout. Now back to the video.
I eventually discovered that metal roof systems generally tolerate much flatter slopes. However, I found that a metal roof was costlier than I liked, so I discarded that idea.
And so I kind of found myself in a bind. A flat roof was just not going to work.
So I began to mess around with traditional double pitched roofs with a 412 slope. Here's one of my first attempts. Not too bad, kind of interesting. But then I flipped it around and got this. I kind of like the side profile, and as you can see, the overhanging roof provides shelter for the decks. And then I went ahead and I tried this. As you can see, I just made the rafters on the outside, which overhang the deck, completely exposed. I like the way this looked, honestly. The problem was, from a structural perspective, especially in Florida with hurricanes, all I could see here was one giant parachute for high-speed winds. So I tried playing around with an alternative, and eventually I came up with this idea. Why not have a smaller, lower in height exterior patio roof over the deck? Although it doesn't provide shelter over the entire span of the 40-foot deck, it's still about 14 feet wide, which is plenty of room. From here, I just duplicated the patio roof on the back of the house as well. And so this is what I was left with, and I really liked the look. So now let's move on to the decks. In my original design, the decks fully wrapped around, and as cool as it would have been to keep them that way, there was just one problem. On the south side of my house is my septic system.
That's right, that's what this large mound sticking above the ground here is. Out here where I live, the local health department, which regulates these septic systems, requires them to be this way, above the ground, due to the water table in this area. The point is that if I wanted to have some kind of a deck structure down off the south side of the house here, any vertical support columns for that deck would pretty much inevitably be penetrating through the septic system, which obviously I can't do that. So I had to go back to the drawing board.
So I went through a few iterations, as you can see, but I ultimately decided on this. No decks on the sides of the house, and instead having full 40-foot length decks on the front and back. For a while, I was happy with this look, especially with this cute little patio roof thing. However, after a while, something started bothering me. Basically, this full 40-foot deck for both the first floor and second floor just seemed like overkill. Basically, just a bunch of useless dead space. Just massive 40-foot long decks serving no purpose other than what? Walking space? Jogging space? What am I going to do? Run laps up there? It just seemed unnecessary and also costly. And so began another epic quest to somehow make the decks much smaller, yet still keep a nice look to the overall house. I spent many hours tweaking the design. As you can see, here are a few variants, sometimes a much bigger patio roof, sometimes much smaller. I also played around with maybe leaving the first floor deck full length, but the second floor a smaller. But in the end, I was left with these final, slightly different options to choose from, and ultimately, I decided upon this version. I think this strikes the best balance between a minimal first and second floor deck size, as well as the size of the patio roof in proportion to the overall look of the home. Now, on the back of the house, although the patio roof back here is an exact replica of the one on the front. It's literally the exact same size and perfectly centered on the house. I did nonetheless decide to leave the decks full length on the back of the house. I have a few reasons for this. First, I did want to keep the first floor deck full length so that it was spacious enough for typical backyard activities, social gatherings, barbecues, etc. And since I wanted the deck below to be totally sheltered from the rain, I decided to make the second floor deck full length. So it basically acts as a roof for the deck below. Of course, I'll be using some kind of waterproofing and drainage system built into the second floor deck so that it is indeed rainproof. And so this is what I was left with. The back of the home has two full-length 40-foot decks. As you can see, the patio roof cover is an exact duplicate of the one on the front and just so happens to offer just the right amount of shelter for this door here and this sliding door here. And as for this spiral staircase out here, honestly, I just couldn't resist slapping it in there. It's actually an exact replica of the staircase in the house. So as I was designing and modeling this out, I just couldn't resist slapping another spiral staircase out here on the decks. There's a chance I might end up scrapping this extra staircase during construction, but we'll see. And lastly, the second floor deck will be connecting seamlessly into this carport over here. So let's get into the carport now. With the carport, I wanted a way to park the car under a structure and be able to walk from the car and into the home completely sheltered from the rain. At first, I tried to put the carport toward the front of the house like this, but this required adding some kind of roof over the front sliding doors. I tried a few options and it just all looked bad. They just weren't going to look good next to this cute little covered patio balcony thing. After a bit of tinkering, I thought about moving the carport towards the back of the house. And since on the back the second floor is full length all the way up to the edge of the house, it kind of connected seamlessly to the carport. Now, there are a few implications to this. First, if I come home and park my car under the carport and it's raining and I don't want to get wet, I'd have to enter the home through the back doors. But I actually don't mind this at all. It reminds me of like a typical home garages that have those small single doors from the garage into the home. That's not the actual main front door of the house. So I don't really mind that. The second implication is that I'm going to have to rework the back stairs into this. It's not that big a change. I'll have to chop my current stairs up a bit, but it basically now has a secondary step pointing towards the side of the house, allowing an easy walking path from under the carport, up the steps, and through this back sliding door. And so, behold, the final design of the second floor addition to my container home.
Lastly, I want to show you an overview of the final second floor's floor plan.
Comprised of 3 new shipping containers, that gives me a total of 960 square feet to work with. Here's the layout. The master bedroom and bathroom are aligned to the left side, taking up nearly half of the entire floor space. A central hallway separates these rooms from these over here on the right side. Here we have 2 identical children's rooms, albeit they are mirror images of each other. The dimensions of these rooms are 7.5 feet wide by 17.5 feet long for a total of 127 square feet per room. Lastly, here in this back corner will be an admittedly very small bathroom, and then this short hallway leads to a small miscellaneous space that I still don't know what it will be used for, probably storage. Admittedly, this little section back here is a bit wonky, but trust me, I spent many hours trying to find a way to fit a second bathroom up here on the second floor. I tried so many different things. As you can see, here are a few variations. And long story short, this really did seem to be my best option. And trust me, I tried to think of everything because remember, it's not just about where I place the bathroom. It's also about how that would affect these kids' rooms, as well as I wanted to minimize as much as possible cutting through these shipping container walls. And of course, I also had to take into account how the plumbing would work for the bathroom. So yeah. And really, I don't have an issue with it being a small bathroom. This will be mainly for the children's rooms, and technically there is another bathroom downstairs. My only real issue is that the location of the bathroom ends up creating this weird hallway to this small space back here, and the hallway itself is just kind of a waste of floor space. But in the end, I'm happy with it. Lastly, as you can see, the central hallway up here leads to this door, which allows access to the front deck balcony, and over here on the back, tucked next to the staircase opening, is this door to the back deck. It's been great creating this 3D model over the years, starting with the first floor design and now with the fully fleshed out second floor. All the nuances I've had to figure out, from cutting out windows in the containers to the spiral staircase to these exterior decks, it's all here in the 3D model, and you can even hide and reveal layers with the click of a button, like the entire first or second floor, or even things like the drywall to reveal the framing. Best of all, you don't even need a special software to use the model. It can open up right in your web browser. This updated 3D model, which includes the new second floor edition, is available for you to download right now. Just click the link in the description below. This model is for reference, not for construction.
And so that's it. If you're wondering where I'm at right now in the process of this new construction project, as of recording this on January 2025, I've already hired a structural engineer. The plans are now complete, and I'm currently just in the process with the building department to get the building permit. And so, as always, I'm going to be documenting the entire second floor addition build in exquisite detail, and obviously be posting those videos here on the channel for you to watch. So if you want to stay updated anytime I post a new video, make sure to hit the bell notification icon so you're notified when I post the next video. I'll see you guys very soon.